Episode 9 of Heavenly Delusion was pretty jam-packed. I mean, we were getting a lot in there to chew on, and man, did it create a massive amount of questions, while at the same time, pretty much hinting at answering theories. It is turning on one of those shows where it's like, I think that answered that, but not really. But yes, about the only thing that we really did get 100% confirmed at this point is that yes, Tokyo is pregnant. So that's solidified. Now, how does that work is a big question mark, because again, my main theory here is that all of these kids inside of this, now we can call it an academy, are genetically created. And so what does that mean to be pregnant, or how does that work? Even the people that are running the facility are like, how does that work? Wait, that can't happen. How does this work? And additionally, seemingly not happy about it, which is a very important thing. Again, they're building these children to this day of fate, and it seems like the idea of one of the children being pregnant is not good to them. Why is that the case? If the whole point is that they're going to survive this day of fate, then what does it matter if they're pregnant? You would think they'd want to, again, procreate the world. But again, that could be going to the idea that these children are supposed to save them from the day of fate. Why would all these people that they have on all these television that are remotely, zooming in, and everybody's in this meeting, creating children that are just going to be able to survive, and they're not? You can probably assume that a lot of these people are donors that are on this board, and maybe they're wanting bodies that they can continue on in. Maybe. Question mark. While a lot of the juicy bits are on the Academy side, still there's tons of stuff outside of the facility from Maru's perspective. Obviously meeting this guy, and this guy telling them a bunch of stories. Now, this is one of those interesting things. I like to give the perspective of these stories as there being a truth within it. Usually a lot of stories, fictitious stories, are typically based on something that is true. Now, he lays out the three major theories on what caused the collapse. First was that it was an asteroid. Some asteroid came down, boom. Or they seen that was coming, havoc ensues, asteroid hits, ruins everything. The second is alien invasion. And the third is war. Now, the interesting thing here is like, what my mind immediately for some reason went to, what if they're all true? It is still odd, and they even pointed out in this episode, why don't we know what exactly happened? Why is there theories on what happened? It doesn't make any sense. The reason why I think that there's theories, and this sort of goes in with my solidification of my theory that I got last episode of Maru's perspective being the future, and the Academy being the past, and that all the children from the Academy have now repopulated the world after the collapse. And so it makes sense that nobody knows what caused the collapse. If most of the population from Maru's perspective and time frame is children from the facility, including Maru himself, it makes sense that nobody knows what caused the collapse because they were in a facility and procreated out into the world. But I still think that what we do see from the Academy's perspective still sort of applies to the now. Some people claim that they've seen this flying being that Kiroko says is just a bird. That was Asura. Mimi Hime seen Asura. And I think other people would probably too. Other people with similar abilities as Mimi Hime. Did a asteroid come down? Yeah, maybe that was the initial day of fate, was that they knew this asteroid was coming. Many claim that it was an alien invasion. Well, yeah, because Asura looks like an alien, could be from an alien group. And yes, the technology that is in this gun that Kiroko has seems alien. Even Asura herself had this vision of this spaceship coming down that had light coming out of it. And yes, I'm still going on a theory that there's a possibility that Kona manifested the aliens in some way. And yes, the third theory, which is war, typically comes out of fear of mankind. So aliens, asteroid, war. It all makes sense and comes together as three different theories that technically all could be true. They even point out the idea that a lot of the war itself was fueled by technologies which could have been gotten from an alien source. Again, fictitious, but all coming together as true, and three theories that may all be the same theory. They're three steps of the collapse itself. But yeah, it's super interesting, and yeah, at some point, Kiroko realizes this dude's blocking this picture, and yes, it ends up being the emblem of the Academy. They go inside. I think that he was probably blocking, at first I thought he was blocking the emblem because he didn't want them to know about it, like he's covering up the Academy. I don't think this guy cares. So I think he was just blocking it for the sake of allowing him to be able to give them information. Well, if they see this sign, they're not going to buy information from me, so I got to block it. It was still weird. It was a really weird scene. Oh yeah, additionally, the story about the facility, the school that was walled off that was ran by women. I don't think that's connected to the academy, but it is kind of funny if you think about it. Yes, technically the academy is ran by women. They just assigned assistant director Aoshima. It's run by the director Encho. It kind of implies that, yeah, they could be the same place, and yeah, they're trying to birth children, but it doesn't really imply the idea that no boys are allowed or anything. But it could be what the academy eventually becomes. The place that he was at, where they turned him into a breeding pig, could be essentially what that academy turned into eventually. Because like I said, a lot of juicy bits in the academy side. Now we can finally call it the Takahara Academy. So we have a name finally. But no, this is interesting, and I almost feel like the bits from the Academy side was sort of all over the place. Obviously, because we get a shot of Asura again, so that's going to be back in time. But it really does feel like certain points, it feels like they shifted things around. And it might have been done on purpose to sort of hide an inner story. From the earlier bits, we obviously see that Kona and Asura were friends. We already knew that they were friends. But at some point, we see the manifestation of Kona's powers. Whatever he imagines becomes real. Not what he draws, which I thought was interesting. But it makes sense. Whatever you draw, you're going to be imagining it and you're going to create it. But Asura basically is teaching Kona how to do that. I don't know if she's doing it, realizing what she's doing, but she's obviously saying, okay, here's this image of this spaceship with lights coming out of it. And he's like, oh, tell me more. What's its face like? He immediately thinks it's a person. He's like, no, you tried to imagine it. And that's what Kona was trying to imagine something, but at the same time, these kids are playing over here, and they pop into his mind. And he immediately thinks of a sword with light. And then the moment he thinks about that, one of the children gets sliced. Obviously implying that he manifested a ray of light, a sword of light, that cut one of the children because they were in his vision at the time. Which is interesting that he doesn't note that, which I guess makes sense that why would he connect that? But yes, we find out that Asura has the ability to heal. We find out that Asura has a lot of abilities. Manifesting wings, able to control things with telekinesis, able to heal. I think that Asura is going to end up being the core. Like this girl had so many abilities. And again, they sort of implied the idea that she was built with a body that could withstand her abilities. They just put too much on her, and thus this is what caused it. It's sort of implied before with what the director said is that they told Asura something that they shouldn't have. They put some sort of burden on her, and that led her to wanting to, tie herself up, using careful YouTube words here. But it's interesting because it didn't seem like she was in that mindset. She went and visited Kona. Interesting, again, we have another moment where the cameras cease to function. Now, is that Asura controlling it? Or is it the core mama hive lady in the middle, the robot that's incubating all the children? Again, in my theory of Tokyo, I don't think Tokyo's controlling the cameras. I think it's the main core mama that's controlling them. But it could be, again, another sign that Asura has all the ability all the children have. She can manifest things. She can control the cameras, just like Tokyo, if Tokyo is doing that. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, she visits Kona and tells him, I figured out what I'm supposed to do. Goodbye. And then goes off and just flies up and wrap it around and just drop down. Like, what? Like, what was the necessity of that? Again, it doesn't seem as if she was upset and doing it out of sorrow or anything like that, or stress, doing it out of necessity. And it kind of plays in the idea that if, again, she has everybody's abilities, maybe she foresaw that she needs to do that. Just like the power that Mimihime has. Mimihime has the ability to see things forward. Maybe Asura has, again, all the abilities and thus has that one as well. But it's sort of implying the idea that based on everything that sort of plays out after this is that Asura had the ability to foresee that she had to, I guess, just get rid of her body. Like she needed to transcend from her body and become a spirit that can go anywhere. It seems as if still Mimihime sees her. Again, is that Mimihime seeing a future of her showing up? Like, is this foreshadowing what's to come? So again, Mimihime is able to see forward. Maybe that was a moment where she sees Asura up there, and that's her foreseeing what in the future will happen, where Asura will show up and everybody will see her up there. That's a possibility as well. It's just the question mark is why? The only theory that I have is that Kona obviously loved Asura. Now, Asura says it's a different type of love. You need to find somebody else, which ends up being Tokyo. But I sort of think two theories here. One is that eventually Kona, because he loves Asura, will eventually imagine her back into existence. And that will be when this thing appears up in the sky and everybody sees it because Kona manifested Asura to come back. And then everybody's going to see her. Why is that the case? Is he going to manifest her in order to stop the collapse and it doesn't work? Either way, it does seem like Kona does see something different in Tokyo, but it still seems as if he still is attached to Asura, obviously. Now, all the stuff that they've seen from Madara's perspective does sort of apply to here as well. And the idea that the information they find in this building is that this is an academy, that it's a place for people to go to rest their mind and body. And additionally, I don't know why, but they put in there that it's a hell of patience, that they have 2 facility and 18 branches. So there's a lot of places here. But it's sort of implying the idea that it's trying to recruit children to come there. And I think based on what we see from the academy's perspective, they're bringing children in this facility and they're putting them together at certain times. And the fact they have investors. They have obviously these really terrible English investors coming in to invest in it. But I'm kind of wondering if part of what they're doing in that facility is not just breeding children from something else using man-eater parts or whatever, alien parts, but additionally possibly bringing in children from the outside that possibly have unique abilities. This might be one of those cases of a story where they're trying to find special children to bring in that may not know they have powers, bring them in the facility and breed them together or take genes from them or whatever to create new children. So there's a possibility against my own theory that a lot of these children are just essentially creations from mankind using genes of mankind, just the more special of mankind. But I thought that segment was kind of interesting, the idea that they sort of imply that here's these 14-year-olds, this is the group right here, that's when they see Tokyo. That's when Aoshima realizes, oh, Tokyo's pregnant. But it sort of implies this idea that they had this group of 15-year-olds that were going to be coming in soon. They're going to merge the groups or something like that, or bring them into the facility, maybe bring them from the other branches into this facility. And what that has to do with anything is the big question mark. Are we going to eventually get a group of 15-year-olds coming into the picture on the academy side and they're going to disrupt something or something? I'll be curious to see in the coming episodes if we're going to see sort of a clashing happening, bringing in an older group, and what sort of abilities they have. Yes, it sucks. Every time I see Mimihime now, it hurts. Seeing Mimihime and Shiro for a brief moment, I'm like, oh, the wounds are still way too fresh. They're still way too fresh from last episode. Anyways, a lot of great stuff in episode 9. I hope you guys enjoyed me just spewing out a bunch of theories and crap that's probably not even remotely close to the truth, but it's fun. That's why this show is so fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what's thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks button down below. Also, membership button. I greatly appreciate everybody it does, and y'all take care.